You guys all right?
I know we got a deep sign, and oh boy, from Sam right as we went to air, and I was momentarily concerned.
You good, Sammy?
All good, boys.
All good.
All
You know
good.
why? It's game day. That's
Game day.
Why. Welcome into the Real Kyper and Bourne program. This is our Leaf Hour edition. I'm Nick Kypreos. He's Justin Bourne. He is a very good and eager Sammy McKee.
Let me stop you real quick.
Yeah,
Which hour is this?
Leaf edition.
It's the Leafs hour. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about the Leafs.
You get your shorts in a knot, eh, with social media.
No,
because-
shorts aren't a knot.
Oh, they get
There's
you.
some knotted shorts
There
out there.
are some knotted shorts out there. Correct.
Anyway, carry
But
on.
that's okay. They'll figure it out. I think by January they'll figure out that our first hour is a Leaf edition. Our second hour is the National
Right.
edition,
By our
coast to
50th,
coast.
We'll be there.
All right. You guys ready?
Ready. Nice suit.
I look pretty good, eh?
You look fantastic.
My
What's going on? What
shout
do you-
out
what's
to Hershey at Blue Industry because this looks pretty good right now.
That's what was really nice. I knew.
It is new.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
It is.
Like when you walked in today, like I can just tell. He's got this suit. He's got the ring on.
The
If
monocle.
we can go to the one shot on Kyper, get the hand up a little bit.
I gotta
Get the hand up.
Mr. Peanut
Get the
comes in
hand
with his
up.
top hat
We got an event at Queensway for Mercedes-Benz today. I'll go there,
Yes.
but a late start, a 7:30 start, kind of rare. I'm thinking maybe I can cover both tonight.
You're gonna go to the Leafs game?
I may with the 7:30 start.
Wow.
I may end up at the game tonight.
Nice.
Well, with the gardener, you should be there by.
You got a helicopter?
By the third period.
I was gonna say, by
Do
if
Mercedes fly?
if it goes to overtime, you would have a chance to see some of it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
All right, we got a fun show today coming on in about half an hour. The president of the Los Angeles Kings, Luc Robitaille. We've had him on before. Always worth a few good laughs with Luke. And then in the National Hour, we're going to welcome in another familiar face, Ray Ferraro.
One of my childhood memories of my dad being in the NHL is my dad's retirement party from the Kings and Luc Robitaille playing soccer with my brother and I in a field nearby. It's like one of my, I was 6 years old, but Luke was cool enough to play with the little kids. So I got a lot of love for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Toronto Maple Leafs right back at it. Take on a Los Angeles Kings team, and we'll get into this with Luke and what we can expect out of his hockey club without Drew Doughty, who went down during the preseason, is not expected to be back for a few months. But it was not a great game for them the other night in Ottawa. Maybe we see a tighter team. And, the Leafs seem to be growing now since their initial loss to Montreal.
Yep.
But there seems to be some momentum on the Leaf side now.
I would say so. They feel pretty good about the direction they've been going. The defense has been shored up nicely. Liljegren's going to come in tonight, which is good. And yeah, no, they've looked good the last couple of games, and even the Montreal game wasn't that bad. So good start.
yeah, and after a ferocious start to the season, where they play Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, it's been a while since they've played a game of hockey here. So
Yeah.
you're going in, you're rested against an opponent that had a wild game on Monday night on a road trip. It's a good spot for the Leafs, it feels like, to kind of impose their will. But, in years past, the rest versus rust with the Leafs team and expecting to beat a team, that's gone the wrong way sometimes. So we'll see how they do tonight.
So you saw me coming in with my blazer.
Yeah.
And forming an opinion. I also have an opinion. When I saw your face, it looked a little more cheerful. Could it be because Craig Berube spoke a little bit longer for us today?
I thought it was going to say because I was wearing my amulet today. I thought that's why you thought I was smiling a little brighter.
Are we doing it already?
So, okay, you threw something out there.
All right.
Get it off your chest right now.
I don't know where to go
This
with
has
this.
to do with John Tavares
I don't know.
endorsing a product.
Listen, I don't know where to go with this. I'm not well enough informed. I've just been making a lot of jokes and reading a lot of jokes. I'm enjoying it. It protects them from Wi-Fi.
okay.
I don't know. You know better, Borny. You explain it.
So just to be clear here, John Tavares is endorsing a product out there that Sammy's trying to explain to me has to do with radiation from Wi-Fi or like what, Sammy? Please enlighten us.
Yeah, that's the idea. And they're, it's one of those things where it's not doing any harm. But it is one of those things that is some people are making fun of because I think the website says I think it taps into some people's fear of like, what's all this Wi-Fi doing? And it's supposed to protect you from that. You know, I'm hearing in my ear it's supposed to increase healing. One of the things says helps with your thoughts, which I don't know how you research. So it feels like a kind of a junk science-y type of thing.
Okay,
Russell Brand is hawking the product.
okay, he's a little nutty though, isn't he, Russell?
Hey, he's selling it for $249 per amulet. You too can.
Listen, I just didn't have on my Leafs bingo board to start the season.
So you're telling me
Magical amulet within the first week. I didn't expect that.
Here's what I'm telling you.
Magical amulet was not on my bingo
John
card.
Tavares does not have a big personality. He's a bit of a blank canvas. And I think people see an opportunity here to paint this kaleidoscope of guy who's into magic crystals or something. For the record, this product is Canada Basketball and UFC also has partnership. There are people who think this stuff is, and maybe it is something. Just like my pen protects me from tigers. I've never once been eaten by tigers. I carry it everywhere.
we've all
maybe
gone and tried to push some products from time to time here. Yes. Some of them have been great and home runs. Some of them you'd like to forget. But he's no different than anyone else, I guess, except maybe he's making 11 sheets, which can kind of help him comfort the fact that this thing, if it sucks and it doesn't work, is anybody going to truly remember it?
In a more serious spin on it, athletes throughout history have tried to gain any edge. And if this helps him get more sleep, or he thinks it does, and they get some placebo effect from it, if it helps at all, great. And if it doesn't, what's the harm?
Yep.
I think the idea is that it's one of those things that like you might as well.
I have not been happy with my morning skate performances Thursday morning.
You're one amulet away.
You're telling me if I put one on each skate, it would cost me $500?
Yes.
But here's, if it weren't called an amulet, it would be so much better. Right? If it were just not called an amulet.
Now, the picture you did send me, though, I would say this. If I've got one knock against this endorsement for JT, just put a better picture of yourself up than the one that you just looked like you came off of practice.
It doesn't feel like something that he's been like a paid sponsor of. I feel like he just uses the product.
And listen.
And they're like, here's a guy who uses it.
If Russell Brand's company wants to sponsor me, their magical amulets, I'll wear one every day.
Amulets?
100%. I'll wear one every single day.
You got on your hands and knees and begged CCM to send you skates the other day.
Yeah.
Yes, I would do it again.
Okay.
Anything. I am for sale. So amulet companies, reach out to me. I'll wear them all.
This magical amulet from Aztec.
All right. With or without these things.
Draw.
With or without these things tied to John Tavares' skates tonight. He's in the lineup.
He is. I just wanted that out there so we can make jokes about it. Carry on.
Yeah, amulets. That's it. Magical amulet's going to fix the Leafs. If they win the cup and he's wearing
in
it,
the
I got
lineup
10.
Yes,
with these things.
Yes.
Possibly Nylander is out. What's the latest here, Sammy?
We have a clip from Berube who's going to lay it all out for you in detail. Okay, so Berube clip 1, please, Derek.
It'll be a game time decision. Yeah, so see how the day goes for him. I think there's improvement. So hopefully he's better later and able to play.
There you go. There's the
I
update.
just need some quicker healing somehow.
Oh, there's only a way.
Flu for him too?
Yeah. Going through the room.
Wow, it's so early here. You don't need to drag anything in, make anybody else sick.
No, you don't. And that's always been the biggest case on a hockey team. It's not about playing through it and showing you can. It's about, hey, don't get the rest of the team sick because that'll help out the team more. I do wonder if there's
I wear this magical amulet.
Oh my God. I do think there is some pressure to show the new coach that you're willing to play through things. Is there not? To show Berube, hey, I'm not just going to go away. If you're Nylander, would you not feel a little bit more pressure with the new coach?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think everybody felt it from day one in training camp that you only get one chance at a first impression, and you'd rather have them on your side than maybe behind the eight ball. Like McMahon was really behind the eight ball, but dug himself out in the last week very nicely.
Yeah,
but I think everybody still feels like they need to be on their best behavior with a new coach.
I do too. Lines are interesting. So the top line's the same. Holmberg is going to be with Tavares and Robertson as the second line if Nylander doesn't play. So they're still giving Robertson some chance there. McMahon, Domi, Pacioretty. Lorenz Kampf Reeves. So Domi playing center, already kind of showing himself to be versatile, playing first line wing, third line center.
Now, I would like to tell you that this is by far the most interesting Craig Berube clip of the season so far.
Oh.
Like, by far. So, if we would like to play Domi, the clip 2 on Domi playing center, please, Derek.
Well, he was moving really well. I think he moves a lot better in the middle, I would say, and moving his feet, and he's a very good playmaker. So when he gets open ice and gets some speed going, he can really skate. He's dangerous. He can make plays. And saying that, he should shoot more. He had a couple opportunities, and he passed up on some shots. So it's we're trying to get him to shoot a little bit more on his opportunities.
The pass to Nylander for the is that one of those instances?
I don't think so. But there was one after that where it was like, God, do you ever shoot it? He hates shooting. Was it preseason, the breakaway he had where he tried to pass it back through 2 guys?
Mm-hmm.
I think he just loves to dish.
He does.
That's
Bloody
it.
loves
In a
the
nutshell,
marinara.
he just loves to make those type of passes and plays. And
He's addicted to UFOs.
I think
that's all he wants to do. That's the whole point.
That's what he wants.
this has been him since minor hockey.
Is that right?
Yes.
Didn't score in junior? Just
No,
passed?
well, it's his first thought is to make a play, not shoot a puck, and goal scores is all I need is this much of a crack between me and the net, and
Yeah.
I'm shooting it.
But you do have to shoot enough that people honor it. And I actually think throughout Marner's career that maybe was an early career criticism that he didn't look for a shot, and then he found it. He had a 30-goal year somewhere in there. He started to shoot the puck a little bit more. Now I don't think it's a fair criticism at all. I think he shoots it when the shot's there. Domi probably needs to find that. What is interesting from that clip, though, is all the skating stuff.
Yep.
And he needs to move his feet, and he's better moving his feet here, and he's good when he gets his feet going. And I think that's a great observation of Domi's game. When he's moving out there, he's dangerous. When he's just in the tracks and looking around for someone to sauce it to, it's going nowhere.
Is there a second clip on him playing center?
It's on getting him to shoot more. There's more detail on it.
Yeah, okay, let's get to that, and then
Clip 3,
we'll get our thoughts on Max.
Well, it's a habit, right? And habits take time to break. And, it's just about constant reminders. And, and I think in practice, it's important that he's, probably overshooting at times and just trying to get out of those habits.
It's like in your golf swing when you need to overcorrect in practice so you can be better on the course.
It's just about constant reminders. Is a nice way to put me being on you all the time about this.
I think there's an ability to work with a small percentage of getting him to shoot more, but I think just at this point in time,
habits take time.
It is what it is, and unlike sitting on the tee box, getting ready to hit, and then reminding yourself about the million things that you need to do on your backswing or your hips or your shoulders or your hands. That ain't hockey.
No.
Hockey's
need to be free up here to just play.
Free,
reactive,
and clear, and subconscious takes over.
Yeah.
Natural instincts take over. Yeah. This isn't, I got time to think about all the things that I've been told or I worked on in practice. It's just gotta click in. You only have a split second.
Yeah. And I would say in the NHL, probably 80% of the guys are pass or shoot. They'll take the best option. And 10% of the guys are shoot first guys. And the Leafs seem to have all of that 10%. It's like Matthews and Nylander and Tavares and Pacioretty and Robertson. So to have one guy who's in the 10% of wants to pass all the time, probably not terrible. Not terrible to have a disher out there. So
what was the number that Valley gave us on the long shots from Tavares yesterday?
149 shots in the last 2 years, I think, from distance unscreened.
And one went in?
One went in.
Yeah.
So might want to pass a few of those.
149.
Yeah.
So just to follow up on Max at center, is there a world now where you could see possibly Max being a second-line centerman for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Could it be down the stretch or in the first round, we see Matthews and then Domi.
And then Tavares?
Third line.
Yeah. Do you like that? Because I feel like I'm about to be the guy who's
You
going to be
asking a question with a question?
I am, because I don't want to have to be a hater. I don't like it.
For me, if there's a thought of the Leafs thinking that Max could center a second line, then once again we're into that conversation like we were with Nylander. Give it a try.
Give
Stick
Nylander
with
and
it.
Nyes then.
Stick with it. Give me a long stretch where it's feeling good, and depending on your opponents as well, what the matchups are, you want a good matchup situation against the Tampa Bay Lightning, soon to be playing against. Put it to the test.
Yeah.
But to answer your question that I asked with a question,
Yeah.
up until this point, the answer probably be no, because of that's not what you signed Max for, right?
What'd you sign him for?
Versatility, depth, top nine,
A guy that
but not
has puck skills when he has.
you
it.
don't sign traditionally you don't sign top six wingers for less than $5 million. I mean, he wasn't brought in so he could solidify the center ice position on the second unit. So if he's going to work towards that, then give him a large stretch here to prove it.
But are we getting lost in semantics about what line is the second and what's the third line? Like, if Tavares, Nylander, and whomever is your second line, and Domi's in the middle between, tonight's Pacioretty and McMahon, pretty good. Are you more comfortable if you call it the third line then, and he slots in better for you there?
So, I'm old school because I think that it sets a pecking order, and it does give you a sense of where you are on the pecking order, and there's something to be worked upon in terms of moving yourself up the lineup. If you just assume that you got one number one line, and that's whatever Matthews and Marner are on, and then you've got three lines that think that they can go anywhere between 2 and 4, I'm not a fan of that.
No, but no one is going to think that a Domi line is ahead of Tavares Nylander in the second slot there. Like, that to me is pretty clearly your second line. Whether you think Tavares
No,
is
it's whatever Nylander's on,
Right.
not Tavares.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So,
Because then he's more in a
if
top
Domi's
nine
playing
spot.
with Nylander, he's on the second line.
Right. And tonight he's not. But I do think that Nyes, Domi, Nylander intrigues me like that, because then Domi has really good players to play with.
Really good.
Really good. And Matthews, Marner, whoever you want to throw on the left side there, I'd love for McMahon to find it a little bit here, getting Bruby's good books a little bit, because I'm not sure who else you put in the left wing aside from Nyes higher up in the lineup right now.
I think the season's just warming up here.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of time for McMahon.
Plenty of time. You good on that one?
I am.
We got Timothy Liljegren in tonight. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. Let's get to Berube and see what he has to say about Liljegren.
He has ability, right? Skating, moving the puck, and things like that. And he should be a good puck mover. And it's just about him managing his game and managing his puck movement and making good decisions with it, not risky ones, and simple. Just simplify. And then you got to win your battles, right? As a defenseman, it's important that you're defending well and you're strong at your net front and you're winning those board battles and corner battles and things like that. He's got to do that.
There can't be a harder job in hockey than to be a guy whose job is to be steady and not make mistakes while trying to impress to stay in the lineup. Don't try to do too much. Don't be fancy. Keep it simple, but also impress us.
You're so right. It's like, what do you do?
I do think there's a better chance for him to be better, calmer, and more predictable with this blue line than others in the past, because it's been such an open-ended question mark for the Leafs the last few years on the blue line, and that it's not good enough, right? It's just not good enough, and And then that presents an opportunity for 4 or 5 of those guys to go, okay, I'm going to be the guy. I'm going to step up. And Liljegren, if I'm not mistaken, had a bit of a history of being an offensive player growing up.
Mhm.
And I think he envisioned himself to be a certain defenseman when everybody's telling you that it's wide open, the Leaf blue line stinks, and you could be a guy, you could be a power play guy, you could be this, you could be that. Just go out there and make it happen. And it's like, no, now it seems like guys are more slotted into their roles and their expectations. And if he wants to be part of this lineup, just find what you need.
Well, you did it. What's the adjustment like when you're a scorer in junior to mentally accepting a different role? How long does it take to get there?
Well, it depends on how quickly you get sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah. Sick and tired of watching, being a healthy scratch in
Exactly.
playoffs.
And just saying, waking up one day and just saying, okay, I'm going to find a way that they can't keep me off the lineup.
Yeah.
And if you bring it, and listen, it could be as simple for him as just get in your own zone and just like you can skate and you can move the puck. You got to make sure you understand what play is needed at this particular time. Make a good first pass. If you got room, skate with the puck and do not get beat to the net.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like I'm watching, who was the defenseman last night that I watched just get
What team?
roasted?
Philly? Edmonton? What team?
Vancouver, Calgary,
Uh,
Dallas.
no, it'll come to me. But
Okay.
it was,
Well, Kulak got roasted by Owen Tippett.
yes, but that wasn't it. Anyways, it was, oh my God, Severson.
Oh, yeah? I didn't see
And it was,
it's Columbus, right?
yes. And it was as poor of coverage I've seen in 10 years. I'll get it for you after the break, and you tell me. Anyways, my point is those things cannot happen to a Severson, and it cannot happen to a Liljegren,
Yeah.
right? And that's not that hard to just
Eliminate the big
defend.
mistake.
Eliminate the big mistakes.
Yeah.
Bad pinches have been historically his issues for a long time, but it's also been historically an issue for all Sheldon's years here. It's like, where are you going? 3 minutes left on the clock. You're up or down a goal. Where are you going?
That's always been a great observation of yours. Is just a lack of clock awareness that, like, hey, we're up one here. We don't, I think there is this mentality that if you shift the way you play, it's like the prevent defense in football and it's all going to come back your way. At some point, you just can't let a guy behind you for the Hail Mary.
Is there a chance here that like they just kind of develop him a bit more, like in a new system with a more defensive-minded guy, that he just comes back into the lineup with a lower role with more guys in front of him, and he just turns into a part of this team? Like, is there a chance that happens?
There is.
There is a chance, but the odds are against it.
For sure.
Okay.
No question.
So where are you
That's
on
why I
that?
asked the question.
Where are you on that? I think the best case scenario is that this guy can prove that he's cleaned up his game a little bit. And then there's some team that wants him after American Thanksgiving. And once they figure it out that their team stinks, which happens a lot between training camp and American Thanksgiving, then somebody's going to go, he's a serviceable player. He's not perfect.
Maybe the Oilers.
But I need a right-handed defenseman that can play anywhere from 12 minutes to 16 minutes. And guess what? He's it.
Yeah.
He's it.
Oh, yeah, he can do that. No problem. We have Stolarz clips as well. One thing I wanted to share with you guys on him, Sportlogic had some stats on his goaltending going back to the 23-24 season. So all last season and the start of this year, his ranks in goals against, save percentage, and even strength save percentage are first in the NHL, and he's second in inner slot save percentage.
I don't care anything about that. What I care is
You don't?
Steve Valiquette came on yesterday and gave him the stamp of approval.
Yeah.
And all these Leaf fans are tweeting now that he's the man because Valley said he's the man.
How about how things changed for Joe Woll over a 2-week span? 2 weeks ago, right? He's like, the guy. What he's 1A to Stolarz is 1B. Here we go, 3-year contract.
I can't picture anybody else playing a big game for the Leafs other than Stolarz. Like, I'm like, they're going to put Joe
so
Wall
funny,
in? It's
yeah.
like, no, don't do that. Like, Stolarz to me is now the number one until Wall can earn his way back in there.
2 games.
2 games.
He's played
I've
twice.
seen enough.
That's why this show is the best. We just ride the roller
All right,
coaster.
let's get Craig Berube's thoughts on Stolarz.
I don't know. I mean, I've known him for a while, had him in Philly. This year, I think, he's calm and cool in net. He's making the saves that he's supposed to, and looks pretty comfortable in net and tracking pucks well. But we're doing a good job in front of him too, which is good. We need to, and it's kind of a combination that works, both ways with a goalie and higher defending in front of him.
I was intrigued by the I had him in Philly thing. I can't remember what years Berube was in Philly, but looking at some of his save percentages when he was there, Stolarz, 928 in 7 games, over 912 games. Like, he was very good there. So Berube probably thinks he's a pretty good goalie to begin with, so that's great.
What's the catch here?
With Stolarz?
Yeah. Just hasn't played? Nobody was willing to give him any money? He hasn't played any games?
Hey,
Not sure what I'm
the same as
saying.
all of them when they first start out. Consistency. That's all.
Okay.
There's not a whole run of games in his career where he wasn't very good, so I don't know. I don't know what
That's what I'm concerned about the catch.
It is a
That's
little
it.
funny. I'm looking at AHL. Okay, he's a 922 there. Then he's a 926 in the NHL. Then 920 in the AHL. I don't know. I don't know what I meant.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
We should go because we got to get Lucky Luke on the other side.
All right.
Okay.
Plenty more to talk about.
Lots more.
Anyways. All right. We'll take a quick break and then we'll get to Lucky Luke.
Put your
after the
amulets
break.
on and come right back.
Luc Robitaille, one of the highest scoring wingers in NHL history, ready to join us here on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show.
Glorious amulet.
As promised, as advertised on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show, let's welcome in Hockey Hall of Famer, top NHL scoring left winger in history, president of the LA Kings, all the way from California, Lucky Luc Robitaille.
What's up, boys?
What's up, Lucky?
How are you?
Good. I'm doing good. How you doing?
We're good. We're good. We're all set. The LA Kings, your LA Kings, set to play the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight on Wednesday Night Hockey. Your Kings coming off an 8-7 loss to the Ottawa Senators on Monday. And, as I'm watching this, I'm thinking to myself, Lucky Luke in his heyday would have loved to play a game like that, end up with 2-2 and, pad those stats. But Lucky Luke, the president, I could picture watching the game feeling much differently than that.
It is so different. You're 100% right. As a player, you're like, we picked up a point. I got 2-2 tonight.
That's a win.
It's not the same when you're on the other side.
No kidding. It was. Go ahead, Lou. I was just going to say it was an exciting game. Do you take some, at least away that you guys do have this flashes of offense and there's enough positive things to take from a game like that, or is it all frustration?
It's not frustration. I mean, we all know it's a process. You got 82 games, and we're doing a lot of new things. Like, we have a lot of new players this year, so it's going to take time to adjust from game to game. But what's frustrating, you're like, oh man, we played so well defensively against Boston. Then the next night there seemed to be so many holes. So you're trying to figure it out. Everybody's trying to figure out what's the best way. But it is our game. I mean, that's the way it is. The skill level in the NHL is incredible. And when guys have a chance, they find a way to put them in. Now it's you can't give up too many chances in this league because it could happen any night.
Not only the LA Kings players versus the Leaf players, but two new head coaches to their respective clubs. You have Jim Hiller. They have Craig Berube. In terms of Hiller, what led you to believe that this was the guy moving forward in terms of style and play? What is it exactly that brought you to the conclusion that Jim's the guy?
I think the biggest thing for us is, we had a great start last year, and then for some reason we went on this hole for 16 games, And then we look back, and when Jim took over, we basically had the same record for the last 32 games and the same amount of points as the first 32 games of the year. So, and we thought Jimmy came in and really communicated well with the players and found a way to get the most out of guys. And then we had at the end of the season, a meeting with each player, and they all spoke highly of him, of the way it was, and he was way more intense than probably was perceived by people. And we like that. And he's got some great ideas about the way to play the game. He's been around for a long time. He's had some great mentor, and Barry Trupp and Babs in Toronto. So those guys, they kind of helped him, becoming a great coach. And it's his first real chance, and we trust him. And there's another thing, that he's a good coach behind the bench, and we all know there's a real value to that in our game.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that makes his job a little harder, Luke, obviously, is being without Drew Doughty, such a big part of your guys' team in the past. What does a timeline look like for Doughty? And more importantly, how do you expect to fill in, or with who do you expect to fill in to bridge that gap to getting such an important piece back?
When you're missing a Drew Doughty, or, it's like missing Austin Matthews, or Mark, for a great team, and you can't have one guy replace him. So it's going to be a committee of 6 defensemen playing together, playing the system. It's definitely going to give Brent Clark more opportunity on the power play, and then so he's the type of player that will want to take that chance. We know that, but you don't replace Drew Doughty. I mean, as much as people talk about his offensive game and so forth, he is still one of the best defender in the NHL, and he was so good last year, and we're going to miss him. And I think, to be fair, we probably expect him back around Christmas, around January 1st, something. And we're not sure, because it's week to week, and we'll see, but it's going to take a while.
A leading scorer for you has been, just the growth of Adrian Kempe. And
Love him, eh?
I watched him score again, and I know today with the equipment, and there's everybody's got a great shooter. Like, even fourth line guys can shoot the puck, but there's something a little extra special there. Is there anything that you've seen in Kempe that kind of reminds you of a very young Luc Robitaille?
He's way faster. He's not even close. He's a really good defender, too. He plays every PK. I was nowhere near those. I thought it was politics, though, by the way. But no, he's a special player on his own. He has found a way to develop his shot the last 3 years. I give players credit. They're adjusting with the new sticks and everything. And Adrian Kempe came in our league. He wasn't really viewed as a scorer. In the last 3 years, he found a way to become a better scorer. Like, his release is different. And you give those guys credit because they work in the off season, and that's the reason he's done so well. He's always been a really good player. He was a center like the first few years in our league, and we put him on the wing with Kopi, and he's never looked back. But we trust him for 200 feet, and that's a great thing. That's a great thing to have on your team, when your guy can score 30 to 40 goals and you trust him in every situation.
Luke, as you guys sort of build towards a championship, where do you see yourself in that process? The Oilers in your division, obviously very good. Vegas recently won a Stanley Cup. Canucks have had a great year last year. Where do you guys see yourself in that division, and where you're at in trying to get to that Stanley Cup?
Well, we're like every team. Once you get into playoffs, we all believe we have a chance to get in, and then things happen and so forth. But there's a learning process. It takes time. I mean, we look at Tampa Bay. It took him, I think, 10 years before they won the cup, and they made it a bunch of years. Then they actually missed the playoffs, and then they came back up. I mean, you look at from the time Pittsburgh won in 2009, they won again with the same kind of group in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. Our owner asked us how long it took Colorado, and I think we said, well, when did Landeskog get drafted in McKinnon? It was 2010 or 12 and so forth. So it takes time. We don't want it to take that long, but we know there's a process to learn. I mean, it's been hard losing 3 years in a row against the same team. It's never easy. You guys know, for the fan base, it's not a good thing, but we're in and we're giving ourselves a chance. This year, what excites us the most is we have 4 new young kids on our roster, and they're coming in. It's going to take time. We understand that, but at the same time, they have the opportunity to play with an Anze Kopitar, and when Drew Doughty comes back, and we have great veterans around them, and Adrian Kempe now is a veteran. Philip Deneau, those are great guys for us to teach our young players to play the game. But we know in the NHL, you got to get in, and if you can get outside the first round, you got as good a chance as anyone. And that's our goal, to keep moving. The goal is you start the season, you want to win the Stanley Cup, and then see if you don't win it, like what do you have to adjust?
I get the time and process, and no better example, I think, than Quinton Byfield as well, who's gone from being a boy to a man. But Lucky, you ruined it for everybody. And Jimmy Carson, when you came out of the Quebec League and led the team in scoring right away, it's your fault if nobody's patient.
They called me lucky. There was a reason. It's funny, but you still don't know how to win until later. Like the first few years in the league, you're still trying to position yourself to be part of the roster, part of the team, and then sometimes you look at it and you're playing for your first big contract. And then suddenly you're like, oh man, we really got to win. There's like, even Dean Lombardi used to talk about that, and Blakey talks about it. Like, there's a process to becoming a player that is doing things a little bit different. Every once in a while, you're lucky and you're playing with the right players at the right time, and you learn a little quicker. But there is a process. Like when you have the opportunity to play, when I was younger with Mark Messier and Adam Graves and Kyper when we were with the Rangers, it's like I saw a whole different level too, or I start thinking differently, because then you're realizing you haven't won. It's been 8 years or 10 years, and you might pay a different price to win the game that you thought was important maybe 4 or 5 years earlier, because you're just trying to stay in the league.
So is it less about what you do then as an individual and more about how you come together as a team to win? Is that what you learned later on?
It's about the price you're willing to pay for the greater good of the cause. So you learn that when you have the great veterans around you, and you understand, like they do little things, like as a fan, you don't see, they chip it out of zone on a 3-2 game. They dump it in at the right time, and it's 3-2 or it's 3-3, or there's no play there. You don't force it. And next thing you know, when you win the cup, you never regret it, because they never ask anyone, unless the guy's the MVP, what'd you do? It's like, what was the team you won on? And that's what people remember.
How how do you feel about the evolution of Quinton Byfield? This guy looks like a guy, I've heard people you're talking about a dark horse candidate for Team Canada in the, what's it called? The Frozen Four? Does that sound right?
Nations face-off.
Four Nations face-off. That's it. How do you feel about where Byfield's at?
Because people selling the game.
I know, and it's our product too. But he is a name that is getting talked about for that team, which is a high praise.
Yeah, he's tremendous. He's got so much energy. He could play the game at a high tempo the whole game, and the beauty about Q is he's learning with Anze Kopitar, Philip Deneau. Those are two centers that he's learning to play the right way. He understands what it will take to win it all, but he's always played that way. And there are some guys that might get 100 points, and I'm not sure, like, you can win as many games as a guy that'll get you 80 points, but the way he plays in all situation with his intensity. So we love the way he's playing. We understand he's still very young, but it doesn't surprise me that he's in the talk with Team Canada, because of the level that he brings in and game out, and every practice the same.
And listen, Luc, I'm not asking you to go back and tell me what, why it didn't work out with Pierre-Luc Dubois, but obviously the change for Darcy Kemper. I mean, was that a tough decision? Because the tendency is when you make a type of commitment, you're in it for the long haul. But, and what Darcy could still bring, I know he's not in the lineup tonight. He might be dealing with, something minor, but just the overall thought process of flipping this quickly to get an experienced goaltender.
Well, it's never easy, but we knew we needed a goaltender for the next couple of years. We have some young kids coming up, like, and we know they're going to be knocking the door. But we all know with goaltending, you got to be patient. You got to be patient with all players, but you got to be extra patient with goaltenders. So Darcy, we're familiar with him because we had him before he went to Phoenix, and Billy Rankford, our head of goalie department, was spoke highly of him. So it made sense for us. And at the same time, sometimes situations just don't work out. Pierre-Luc is still a great player. I mean, he could skate. He's an impactful player. For some reason, it was hard to play. Like I said, we have Philippe Deneau and Anze Kopitar coming in. It just didn't seem to mesh well. And it was one of those things where, they needed a center, we needed a goalie, and it made sense.
Luc, I did, in talking to you, I'm thinking about, we had the Four Nations face-off come up, and we talked a little bit this morning about their goaltending. You're from a part of the world originally where we had some great Canadian goaltenders come out of, Patrick Waugh and Brodeur and, numerous others.
Felix Potvin.
What's going on? What's happened here where Canada isn't producing goaltenders? Like, we're likely to have like Bennington and Montembeault or something as our duo, which obviously they're very good goalies. I don't mean to be disrespectful to them, but it's not quite the level where we have future Hall of Famers, begging to get in the crease.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, it's like getting goal scorers out of a league in Canada. Every year it seems to change, or every 3 years. And I think what was it? Patrick's coach Allaire, he was coach. It seemed like he was coaching every French goalies. And you got to remember, when Patrick came in the league, every kid in Quebec wanted to be a goalie, and everybody started playing like him and so forth. Then there was Marty Brodeur. There was all these guys coming. You guys are right. And Carey Price came in. I don't. Here's we might say, oh man, there's like 6 great goalies from Canada. I just think right now there's no big names because none of the guys have won a cup the last few years too. Probably that makes a difference. Mm-hmm. But it might change quickly in the next 2 to 3 years.
Listen, the three of us never played professional hockey in net, but you ended up scoring 668 goals. When you watch the goaltenders today with the reverse HV, or, I'm watching again last night, Shilov's on a Braden Point shot where he was on his knees, where he was on his knees well before the puck left his stick. I'm sitting there going, it would have been nice to shoot a couple of goalies that looked like they were 4'2" when I played. They all stood up. Luc, do you see that as one of the top scoring wingers in the history of our game? Do you see what I see, or am I making this up?
I think today with the technology of the sticks, which is totally different than when we played, I think if you're smart and you really practice your shot, and you can start picking not necessarily the tight corner, but like an area, like a quarter of the net here and there, and you constantly aim for that. The minute you have time, you have better shot because there's set positions on goaltending, mm-hmm. and it's sometimes there's a couple of spots that are really hard, but they're playing the odds. It's like pitching, they're playing the odds. It's almost the data tells you that, and it's so if you can hit the spot, you score, and they're not big holes, but you got to hit them, and I think the technology of the sticks have changed. So if you practice it enough, you should be able to pick those spots and get there.
Well, nobody picked them finer than you during your career, man. So appreciate your time, Luc. Good luck tonight, man, okay?
All right, thank you. Great talking to you guys.
Yeah, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
That is the great, lucky Luc Robitaille.
Yeah, he could shoot it, man.
So we got a couple of minutes left in our Leaf Hour, and I found it fascinating to listen to Luc talk about the success that he had early, mm-hmm. and how you're wrapped up into finding your spot and
getting that first contract,
setting up your contract and all of that. And then you kind of figure out later that, is it conducive to winning as a team? And I'm sitting there going, he's also talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs.
He is, and it's funny because I had that thought too. And if you look at their lineup, you can pretty clearly assess what most guys' priorities would be. Nick Robertson's, what are his priorities?
establish himself.
Yes, he's trying to become an NHLer. He
Yeah.
wants a contract. He wants permanence. McMahon, Holmberg, those guys don't have. They're playing to stay in the league. That's what they're playing for. Matthew Nyes, he's playing for a money deal. He's playing for his first one. It's those big guys, the core four who have been here, who should have turned the page now, right? Who should.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, y'all been paid, been in the playoffs. All of a sudden, you start looking at the sands of the hourglass of your career and going.
But he also spoke of being a player that all of a sudden had to, quote unquote, betterment of the team and chip the puck out.
Yeah.
Get it in deep.
Well,
Don't turn it over.
And I liked him saying sometimes you just don't make a play. You just hang on to it because there's nothing there.
And that's where you're hoping or assume that Matthews, Nylander, Marner, and Tavares are, especially up front, that they have now realized that 60 goals, 70 goals, 50 goals, no one cares, no one cares.
No one will care if you don't win. And so, Pacioretty's at that point of his career. Riley is for sure. Tanev is for sure. OEL's one. McCabe would be there. Like, they've got guys who you think, okay, this is a team that should prioritize winning. Obviously, not everyone is there in their career, but there's enough guys for the Leafs that should be. We should see that in their play this year.
So the LA Kings, again, coming off Monday night's 8-7 loss to the Ottawa Senators, where Darcy Kemper stayed and remained in the game, which I found interesting. I also found interesting that he is now out day-to-day with an injury. And I
With a bruised ego?
And I can't help but think of Steve Alacant telling me that
some guys just don't want to do it on a night that might get lit.
Just don't want to go back in there after something that maybe bothered him on Monday outside of whatever ails him.
You're like, I'm sorry, Austin Matthews has not scored and he's extra hungry at home. It's like, I think I'm in pain. I think I'm in physical pain right now. Check in with me on the weekend.
Yeah, I think there's probably something to that. And what having Valaket on as a guest regularly has done for me is just, I look at everything cynically when it comes to goaltending. Like, I just think about it being
I don't know if you have to go that far.
Well, not from his perspective.
It does change the way you look at the position now.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, as players, every year, we've all had goalies. We've all said they're a little different. They're a little goofy. There's times when you want to talk to them, times when you want to leave them alone. But, and then you form the conclusion as a player, do I feel better with him in the net or the other guy?
Yeah.
And we can all share that quietly or with a teammate on a bus or something like that. But outside of that, you never really went any deeper to say, maybe the guy's just protecting his save percentage tonight.
Yeah. No, it didn't come up. But was there not always consensus about which goalie everyone wanted in the net? Like, were you on any teams?
But it was always kind of skewed or suggested by your team prior to even starting in the season. You know who was number one or who was the backup and how the starter needed to truly lose his position or lose the trust of the team and then where it left you.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't know if Kemper's going to be that guy. We just heard from Luke talking about how much they needed a goalie. Is Darcy Kemper that guy for LA? Are you sold?
We'll see. No, I'm not sold. Before we go to break, Leafs have not started in the first 10 games. They've had the chance to get 20 points. They've not done better than 12 out of 20 points the past 3 seasons. We as a show would like them to have a better start. It's a big game for them tonight.
They're all big. Sammy had the Oilers mathematically eliminated if they lost last night.
That's right.
They won their must-win. They listened to the show. They knew. They won
did.
their must-win.
We'll get into more of that.
Ray was there, too, so he called the game, so he'll have that.
Perfect. That is Ray Ferraro, ESPN hockey analyst, former National Hockey Leaguer, will join us next on the National Hour. Do not move. The Real Kyper and Bourne Show. It's the National Hour on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live and in color. Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne is brought to you by Bet365, also coast to coast on Sportsnet. Baseball tonight, Sammy.
Oh, yeah. Big time baseball. Perfect flick back option for the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. New York Mets home for the LA Dodgers. Game 3 of the NLCS at Citi Field in New York. Going to be a madhouse. Can't wait. Walker Buehler versus, I don't know who the pitcher is for this.
Walker Duery, he plays for the Flames.
No, Walker Buehler.
In a few minutes, we'll welcome in
Frank's,
Ray Ferraro will join us, ESPN hockey analyst, former National Hockey Leaguer. He did the Oiler game last night.
What an Oiler game.
Where Sammy said that, they lose and they're done.
Or stick by it. It was a must-win game.
Cooked.
Buddy, they were damn close to losing, but they got really unlucky with some of the calls, with some of the way that game shook out, and then just I was on with Ken Reed last night. He thought the fights really turned the emotion up, and all of a sudden the Oilers found it.
I totally agree with him. I think it helped on the sense of urgency to get emotionally invested, and you can't argue that it did give the sense of urgency to the fans that they
Something mattered.
They can't let this game slip.
No.
They can't let the points be lost here.
Draisaitl buried a guy at the end of the second. Couturier runs into Skinner, and all of a sudden, you get a fight there. Stetcher, your smallest D, is standing up to the other team's captain. Perry comes out. Oh, yeah, it just really felt like the Oilers found a reason to get into a game, and they seemed to struggle to be getting into the season. And I wonder if last night was the impetus for a little bit of a run here.
And boy, that Michkov looks good.
Yeah, I really like him.
Yeah, like the first goal's
Surprised
great.
Montreal didn't after watching him in the NHL.
And then the second one was Draisaitl-esque. That shot from the sort of half-board area, top corner.
But I'll be honest, I'm more impressed by the fact that he put Nurse in a headlock and he dug through the pad to get a goal. Like he's elements of wanting to play in the league.
Thank God the Habs
Playing
didn't
hard.
take him. Oh, thank God.
And if you're John Tortorella too, you watched two pretty good hockey players get involved in the fisticuffs. Stetcher does a nice job of getting Couturier off. Like you got a lead.
Mm-hmm.
He is considered. He's won a Selke.
Yeah.
Has he not? Like
If not,
that's the
I would
guy.
say yes.
That's the guy the coach needs to help shut the door down.
Yeah.
The fact that Stetcher got him off the ice was gold.
Yeah. Yeah, and they
Couturier won the Selke in 2020.
Yeah, there you go.
And the way that game went down, I know you weren't up to the very end, but the Connor McDavid defensive play at the end where
I stayed up.
you did, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Did you think it was a penalty?
I thought it was a penalty on a lot of other guys.
Yeah, for
except
sure.
Connor.
For sure. He didn't take a penalty. I don't think he reached in. I don't think he tripped him.
But what was established is lost body position.
He's on the wrong side of a guy
right?
and gets a hand
and he gets his hand in.
That's usually enough for them to say you took away a scoring chance. And then they go the other way, and the Flyers absolutely stopped playing hockey. I'll do a quick Google to figure out who number 38 was because that was the last I saw of it. But on the back check, Connor doesn't score, goes in the corner, and 38 on the Flyers turns up the ice like we're going to go the other way. Like Connor McDavid has the puck in overtime in your zone, man.
I think it was Konechny. I think that
Was it?
that ended up behind the net covering nobody, if I'm not mistaken.
Take a quick
All
look
right,
here.
let's welcome him in. Fresh off being inducted into the BC Hall of Fame, the great Ray Ferraro.
Right.
Wow, that's huge.
Raymond, do we have
He's
you?
speechless.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. It's, what's cool about it? Well, a couple things, right? Like, it's nice to be remembered, like that's always kind of nice, but it also, you just sit there and like, I started thinking about my mom and dad and about Little League baseball. And eventually I get to the hockey, but it's all the cool stuff that I've been lucky enough to do and the people that help you do it. And like, my mom and dad have been gone a long time. And so it was really a great morning to sit there, and Cammie and I could talk about it. And, she never met my dad and, just met my mom one, for like 6 or 8 months before she passed. And then like somebody had a video, like this is crazy. I've never seen it. Like when I was playing Little League in 1977. Mm-hmm. And I hit a grand slam home run in the Canadian Championships, and I did an interview, and I was like, it's like all these things that happened today were just really, really cool. It was awesome.
Yeah, congrats, Ray. That's really cool. You know, I was fortunate enough to get to play some hockey in Trail, Roslyn, growing up a little bit. That area obviously had a big impact on, you know, shaping your career and getting you where you ended up, eh?
It really did. You know what? They said something in the Christine Sinclair's announcement, and one of maybe Canada's greatest female soccer player, and that she's become a part owner of the new women's pro franchise here, and they were talking about how she's given young women and young girls something to look up to, someone someone that's achievable. And when I grew up in Trail, like my heroes weren't really the Boston Bruins. I mean, I cheered for the Bruins. Bobby Orr was my guy, but like it was the people that I saw around our town, like the guys that were like my dad's friends. They all played on the 1961 World Championship team, and so guys that were stars in Europe, I knew them. Right. As like they were like my goal was to play in Trail at 8:30 on Friday nights for the Trail Smoke Eaters. And Steve Tambellini, who was probably 5 or 6 years older than me, he was the guy I was behind. So when I watched Steve go to the Western League and then Steve get drafted by the Islanders in the first round, and like I wanted to be Steve, right? Like if you got somebody to emulate, it kind of sort of seems possible, I guess.
Super cool.
We are joined by British Columbia Sports Hall of Famer inductee Ray Ferraro. How far could like the Elmer Ferguson Award be from you as well? Like you're going to load up broadcasting awards.
You got
hey.
You're such a dog.
Hey, so how has the start of the season been for you? Obviously, ESPN very much involved. We saw you go from one city to another on the triple header. Ending up, you went from Seattle to Utah, correct?
Right. That was a lot of fun. I mean, I've done 2 games in a day before many times with the World Junior and then at the World Hockey Championships, a couple of times we did 3 games in a day, which, I mean, by the end of the 3rd game, like you've got the wrong players playing on the wrong teams and you can't even remember anymore. You're like, I don't know, the tall guy over there, right? Like, so it wasn't as big a challenge, I guess, because it's 4 different teams. You got to prep more and longer, but it's easy to keep them separated. I had that 2-hour gap in between, but I'm telling you, I think one other time I've been on a private jet, and when it's you, the 2 pilots, and a video guy, that's the way to fly.
You're spoiled rotten.
Oh, Kip did. They had like some food, and then they're like, oh, yeah, check out that drawer there if you want any snacks. I opened up. I'm like a cookies guy, and oh, my God, they had like all these different cookies in there. I'm like, this is the best part of it. Oh, yeah, I got to do another game. I was almost in a food coma by the time I got there. But it was cool to go to Utah. Like the building itself right now is exactly like the old Arizona Phoenix building. Like it's exactly the same. It's a basketball building, really sharp, steep seating. It's incredible to me that they're going to take the ends off that arena and flatten out the bowls so it'll be, a complete hockey arena, like a multi-purpose rink. It's just remarkable. But it was enthusiastic. I think the team's going to be pretty good. Finally, they've got some money, so they can go and get some players and improve their roster, and so that was pretty fun to see. Since then I've seen Philly a couple of times. I did the game last night for ESPN, and so I saw the Oilers win. I saw the Canucks lose a couple times, and man, October hockey is tough to make sense of sometimes.
It is for sure. And by the way, it's a good point about them having some money, because it's almost like the league added another team. Like instead of adding a warehouse for bad contracts, like it's another team trying to be competitive. So that's pretty fun.
I was just going to say, could you imagine for Bill Armstrong finally, like he gets to open up his desk drawer and there's money in it, as opposed to like paper clips or whatever they had.
Mothballs.
Right? Like this is, they can go and sign Dylan Guenther and they can make a trade for Sergachev, and some things will work out and some things won't, but they won't be spending $51 million anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's not going to be.
So, Ray, you watched the Oilers last night. I was on that game too. What are your thoughts on where the Oilers are at? There's a little bit of panic there early, but still a couple of decent hockey players there.
Yeah, I just watching them and watching the day there. You know, we were there in the morning and then go back, and it feels stressful, and I don't really know why they feel stressed. Like you can just feel it, and man, it's 3 games and they didn't play very well. And, you know, I mean, the team is not what it was 6 months ago, right? They're older, they're slower, and there's zero chance that defense is going to be the same in March as it is now. So I was really quite surprised with the stress and the frustration you could see. Like, you know, like they benched Draisaitl for a couple of shifts last night. The cross-checking penalty he took at the end of the second period, I was like, what's he doing? Mm-hmm. Like that wasn't even it wasn't even sneaky, like you were trying to get away with it. He just like skated across the ice and cross-checked the guy standing in the slot. And so I think that was the biggest takeaway I had, was that they're frustrated here for no particular reason. There's so much time left. And if you remember last year, their power play sucked at the start of the year. And then by the end of the year, it was one of the best in the league. So the power play right now doesn't look very good. It's the same 5 guys as last year. I'm pretty sure they'll find their way.
You know, the one thing as a player I try to do, again, you know where your limitations are, you know your role, but and there are times, Ray, and you've been around a very long time to understand that even if sometimes things aren't going well for your hockey club, internally you have to find a way to still have some fun coming to the rink, whatever that means. And all I've seen out of the Oilers to start the season is I'm not sure who's having fun. I'm not sure if they have a guy that can kind of just ease the tension a little bit in that room. But they've struck me as a team that I look at, and to your point where that stress factor is, who's alleviating any of that stress?
Well, it only can you can be a class clown, but you need the head guys to alleviate the stress. Mm-hmm. And Kip, you know, like I was in New York only a very short time, but the first couple of games of the year, we lost and didn't play very well. We lost at home, I forget to who, and it was a messy, ugly game. And so we came in after the game, and the next day we played on Long Island. And I felt like as we walked in, like Mess was going to blow up, like that he was going to give it to the team, like, hey, you know, pull your heads out. We got to get going. He didn't say a word, nothing. And we got on the bus and we bussed to Long Island. We got to the hotel, and I happened to be in the elevator, and we go up. He doesn't say a word. And as he was getting out, he's like, come to work tomorrow, boys. And he just walked to his hotel room. And the fact that he did that, there was no stress. Like, to me, I read that as like, okay, he knows we're a good team, mm-hmm. but he clearly knows we played lousy. And then the next night we played great and we won, and we were kind of off and running a little bit. But I always remember that had he come in, and because it wasn't like anyone else was going to do it, but had he come in and really laid the riot act down, there would have been a stress level increase. The tension would have been there. And look, Connor's wired tight, and he works hard, and not everybody can keep to that. And I don't know if it must be really hard to just kind of let that go a little bit. But if he can, if Draisaitl can, man, that changes the whole outlook of that team. Just not whether they get better or not, but everybody takes a half a breath.
Yeah, just to add to that, like, again, being in the room and thinking when's a good time to kind of loosen up the guys. either I did something or I said something, and then I'd look at Noodles, the first Noodles, Brian Noonan, and I'm like, did Mess laugh? I wouldn't even look. I'm like, is he laughing? Is there a smile on his face? And to your point, if there is, then everything's fine. And if it's not, then, you know, we're gonna tighten up here real quick.
Well, you know what I thought was really, impressive, I guess is the right word, is that so Draisaitl didn't have a very good game. He took the bad penalty. And then in the third period, Chris Knobloch left him off 2 rotations. He benched him. I looked down, he's sitting down by the D. I've been in that seat. You never choose that seat. If you're down by the D, you're there because you know you're not going out anytime soon. And then the Oilers got a power play, and Draisaitl got back in the game. I was curious if he was going to leave him for one more rotation or if he was going to jump him back in anyway. But in any case, he made a great play, beautiful pass on the Bouchard goal to McDavid over to Bouchard, and then he scores the game winner. And I'm like, that took a lot of courage for Knobloch to do. Like, it's not easy to say to one of your best players, yeah, not tonight, go sit over there. Mm-hmm. But he did it, and I think the Oilers will reap the benefit of it.
So, Ray, I wrote a little article today about like some of the teams that we thought were going to be good who are struggling. Nashville, Edmonton was kind of lumped in there too. Colorado. There's more. But also, you know, there's some teams that we thought that weren't going to be great. Calgary Flames are off to an unbelievable start. So how much does early season momentum affect the team? Or does it just sort of normalize your true talent level comes out over 82 games? Or can you ride one of these waves of momentum?
And add Vancouver Canucks to that as well.
For sure.
Sure. I think a team that has no expectation getting out of the gate really great might propel them into a pretty decent stretch of hockey. But over 82 games, we know this. Like, you get hurt, your goalies hit the rut a little bit. You know, your lack of talent. That's not your lack of a depth of talent really comes back and bites you eventually. And so those teams, I think, tend to fall back to where they might outkick where predictions were at the start of the year, but they start to fade away. The good teams eventually, I mean, the Oilers are a terrible example last year because they won 18 in a row. Like, that's not happening again. But good teams find their way. The turnover on the teams, I think, has been really notable for a couple of the teams you mentioned. Like, the Oilers got a bunch of new guys. Vancouver's got 7. Aside from not playing well, they got 7 new guys. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I look at Vancouver, there's no Demko. There's no Dakota Joshua. Demko's a game changer, right? He clearly, he's one of the best half dozen in the league. Joshua was a impact, powerful player for them last year. I think they miss him a lot. Pettersson has not had a very good start. DeBrusk has had a quiet start. And so you add all that up and you got a team that's got 2 points in 3 games. So the one that I think that stuff is kind of works its way out. The one right now I look at and I wonder a bit is Colorado, because their goalies are playing dodgeball. They pick up another guy, right? Kakinen on waivers. Like, you don't pick up another goalie if you're happy with the 2 you got. And, you know, to hope that Landeskog can make a difference after 2 years away is probably a little unrealistic. I mean, I don't know what the prognosis is for him, but if he comes back, you'd have to think it would take a long time to just even find out what he's going to be. Nichushkin is another story. Like, how do you even know? What do you know? I mean, these are important pieces out of their lineup. And, so Colorado, I still think they've got too many good players, but I wonder a little bit about them. If they're dodgy in goal, it's tough to wallpaper a lot of the other mistakes.
We're talking to Ray Ferraro, ESPN hockey analyst. Ray, outside of some teams off to slow starts, I think a storyline that we've seen developed early in this season is goaltender interference, I think at one point during the hockey game, the Oilers had more disallowed goals than they've scored
Yes.
all season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were
all
4 to
season.
Yeah, they were 4-3. Yeah.
It's quite remarkable, but a lot of people in Edmonton baffled, including their head coach, on what goaltender interference and isn't. What are you seeing?
Kip, I've never had a really great feel for. I mean, unless it's totally obvious, right? Like there's some you look at and you go, Like when I watched the Bouchard goal that got disallowed last night, as soon as you see the replay and I think it was Hyman hits his blocker and his blocker turns inward, you're like, well, that's not going to count. But the Corey Perry one the other day, I didn't see why it was interference. You can say he had a significant as they did, a significant presence in the crease. I've never heard that before. Like I've never heard that phrasing. And I'm like, so now would you ask if you're in the crease, is this insignificant or is this significant? Like how it's like everything is splitting hairs. And I don't know how there'll ever be a consistency to it when each goal call takes multiple replays and then you're still not sure. Now, I was an advocate before, and everybody that I talked to seemed to think it was just goofy. But in the international game, if you were positioned with anything in the crease, the goal didn't count. It doesn't mean skating through the crease. It means if you're screening the goalie and your heels are in the crease, doesn't count. Because what ends up happening is the blue paint is for the goalie and the white paint is for the players. And I think it's
Aren't we close to that based on the calls that we've seen? We're really close to that.
Well, if we're really close to it, then we should get to it. Because, Kip, what I like about it is that it separates the decision. You look down, the guy's feet are at all in the blue, then the goal doesn't count. Because right now they could be in the blue if it wasn't a significant presence, and it could still count. So if that's the case, which it is, why is the crease blue? Like, what's the point? Like, just so it's a nice color on the ice? It's like if it matters, then make it matter. And I want clarity, right? I just want clarity to the rule as best as they can. It's never going to be perfect, and it's an impossible thing to try and thread the needle on. But when any of it is interpretation, I think you're kind of barking up the wrong tree, right? Like you're going to look at a play, I'm going to look at a play, Justin's going to look at a play, and it's going to be 2-1 80% of the time.
Just one more thing on this, and I go back because the first thought was goal disallowed because it's Corey Perry, and Corey Perry has a reputation with the league about flying too close to the sun.
Right.
So where are you on judgments on reputations? No different than, does a guy get the benefit of the doubt who's tripped if he's constantly embellishing?
Okay, so that's a good example. But what I would say to that is that's why in my world that that nobody is asking about, but is that the blue paint should matter. It should.
Well, but hold on, let me stop you there, Ray. You're saying that it does matter currently, right? Like that the contact comes last night in the blue paint, so it's relevant.
Okay, but Perry in the game that Perry's goal got it's 2 games ago, Calgary, right? Mm-hmm. He's standing there. The goalie's not touching him. He's not touching the goalie by this point. He's already poked him in the ankle. The goalie fell down, got back up, and now he's got a chance to get set. He's standing where he's standing. The goal's not disallowed because his feet are in the blue. The ruling was that it's a significant presence in the crease.
In the crease.
So does that mean yes? But does that mean what if he's 2 inches forward and his heels are in the crease? In my mind, that does not count. And then what happens is before you get to the problem, the players know they just look down and it's blue, and then they move forward. But right now guys, like, it happens fast. It's not like they got all kinds of time and I think I'll go two more feet in the crease. They're in there, they're jostling all of a sudden, and you're like, oops, I'm in the crease.
Well, or you can just fall on the goalie all the time by mistake, like some guys do, and that seems to work out okay. Not referencing anyone in particular, but
there was a time.
Yeah. No, I've seen it definitely used as a game plan from time to time. Do we need to? What's going on?
Oh, I'm good.
Or we're good? Okay, well, before we let you go, Ray, just last question for me. I know it's illegal for us to talk about the Leafs in the National Hour, but wanted to get your thoughts on their changes and if they look any different to you with a couple of new guys in the back end, Tanev and OEL.
Well, I live in Vancouver. I've watched Chris Tanev play a long, long, long time. And the thing about Chris Tanev is he does everything about as simply and as quietly as you can. Mm-hmm. And it almost always is the right thing. He had that stretch of his career where he got hurt a lot, but over the last, 4 or 5 years, that's not been the case. For whatever the reason is, the guy eats pucks that like crazy. But when the puck's on his stick, more often than not, it's in a safe play when it leaves his stick. I know why lots of teams were trying to sign Chris Tanev. He's a really good player. OEL, when he got bought out in Vancouver, the problem that he had was his contract wasn't commensurate with, he's not a $7 million player.
Right.
And so he goes to Florida and they get him for $1 million. The guy's healthy. He can skate. He can move the puck. He's smart. Like he's just a good NHL defenseman. And so if you put enough of those people in the right place, and he can move left side to right side, he gives you a little versatility when guys get banged up. They're really good signings. What I like, we've watched Chief coach for a long time. There's nothing fancy about the way he views the game. He'll let skilled and fancy players do their thing, but it's straight ahead. It's very simple, and it's not safe, but it's sure. That's what he's looking for. So I love that I see after a goal, he's got a line he trusts, and last game it turned out to be that fourth line, and he's got him on the ice after a goal for and a goal against because he wants momentum. He wants the forecheck. He wants the body because over time he's trying to impact the game with the way they play. I've liked their start. And as far as October hockey, to tell you how goofy it is, if anybody's worried about Austin Matthews, they should probably stop.
Yeah.
And like it's October and he's going to get whatever he's going to get. And pretty soon you're going to go, oh, would you look at that? He's got 7 goals in 5 games. Yeah. Right. Like, so the worry spots for Toronto are not what they were. We'll see about the goaltending. I see Woll is back and taking shots and, but the goaltending's not been a problem at all so far. So, maybe things are going to look a little different come March and April when it really does matter.
Ray, I saw Dick Todd last week at Mike Keenan's book launch, Iron Mike, available.
Was he counting?
What's that?
Counting?
Yeah. Before we go, can I tell the boys my favorite dressing room story?
Oh, I don't know what your favorite is, but I know you would.
My all-time favorite is we had segments for 5 games with money, and Dick Todd's main job in '95 was to update us where we were when it came to money. Mm-hmm. And Dick did the segment, and he said that this is what we need for $200. This is what we need for $400. This is what he's. Now let's go out there with peckers in the air. And then it was kind of quiet. And then Ray whispers in my ear, you work your whole life to get to the best league in the world, and that's the help you get.
So let's go get them, boys.
Hey, feel free to use that in your acceptance speech in the BC Hall of Fame, my friend.
You know?
I'll dial it up, kid. Thanks a lot, man.
Great stuff, buddy. Thanks for joining us. We're going to do it again soon, okay?
Yeah, take care. Great to talk to you guys. Be well.
Thanks, Ray. You too.
Ray Ferraro, ESPN hockey analyst and newest member of the British Columbia Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Good stuff, man.
That was awesome. Love that.
He's great.
This is just his voice is hockey to me. Just heard him talk hockey for my entire life. But he said the best thing ever. Then why is it blue?
Well,
why is it a different color?
Yeah. I don't want to do it again.
Well, yeah, because we need to get into it again. But it's a good point. Why is it blue? Why is it a different color?
It's his area. It's because it's his area.
But it's not illegal to be there.
But it's illegal to touch the goalie there.
Yeah. Yeah. No contact.
Yeah.
This is as simple as it gets. You make contact with him in there, you run the risk of the goal being disallowed.
We do not agree.
End of story.
Okay.
That was simple.
Okay. Game time after the break.
You got her.
All right, more on Real Kyper and Bourne as we dive into the news and notes, including a goaltender who scored into a net for the 11th time in NHL history. Does that
shot it in for the 11th.
Shot it in. Does that mean that 10 others have done it?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how many we can name after the break.
Give us time.
Don't cheat either. I see you guys on the internet. I'm smacking you in the head. More Real Kyper and Bourne.
Sammy's Googling for Samulets.
After the break.
All right, bye.
Plenty still on the table here for the Real Kyper and Bourne show. News and notes coming up. But first, let's take it to Sammy for a little game time.
It's game time.
It's game time. Presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. A couple things for tonight. First thing, Leafs hosting the LA Kings. The dam is going to break for Austin Matthews here eventually. Thought he was unbelievable on Saturday against the Penguins. Had many chances. Hit the post a couple times again. Got stoned on a breakaway. I like Austin Matthews 2 points tonight at plus 150. Feel like that's going to hit here soon. Feels like he's going to, the well is going to break, the dam's going to break, and he's going to get a couple tonight. So give me Austin Matthews 2 points at plus 150.
Yep, like it.
The Sabres are in Pittsburgh to take on the Penguins. Sabres are slight underdogs, plus 100. Penguins minus 120. I think the Sabres are going to be inspired after Dahlin beat the crap out of one of his teammates and felt bad about it, but everybody thought it was a cool thing, a.k.a. Borney. Give me the Sabres plus 100 against the Penguins tonight. Who I think the Penguins and Sabres are way closer than anyone's willing to admit.
Yeah, no, I think they're both going to be like, are we wild card rivals? Like, this is actually a big game.
So give me the Sabres at plus 100 and the LA Dodgers making a visit to Citi Field tonight to take on the New York Mets in Game 3 of the NLCS. We have it on Sportsnet tonight at 8 o'clock. Give me the New York Metropolitans, baby, minus 105. Luis Severino on the hill, going up against Walker Buehler in his tight pants. Love the Mets to beat the Dodgers at Citi Field tonight. So those are my things for tonight, and that was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds to find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
And this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne is brought to you by Bet365. Just to kind of follow up on Austin Matthews a little bit, because you know how stupid and crazy Twitter can get. Austin was trending last night, and not that I follow closely, but you're like, why, right? When you see someone's name, why? No.
Oh, okay.
It's because Gustafsson has more goals than Austin going into tonight.
He also has more power play goals than the Leafs this year, Gustafsson.
Gustafsson has more goals than Connor McDavid and Matthews combined.
Yes.
He's on fire.
Yes.
He is. Tearing it up.
So, as you had stated before the break, Gustafsson is the 11th goalie to score a goal in NHL history, shooting the puck in the net. How many do you remember here?
It's really funny that, like, I'm typically very bad at this sort of thing. Ron Hextall.
Scored twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
Linus Ullmark.
It's hard to forget the first.
Right. Ullmark.
That was wasn't that last year?
Yeah, recently. Did Billy Smith, I know he was credited with one. I think he shot one in.
No, he...
Only credited with one?
I think he's only got one, and it was off of a rebound, and then someone shooting the puck back to the point that ended up going into the net. There's the only goal that I remember from Billy Smith.
Jose Theodore?
I don't know. I don't remember Theodore.
I remember Theodore for some reason.
And also remember
Mike Smith, too, I
Did
think.
Marc-Andre Fleury ever get one?
This
No.
is great
Names
radio.
I don't think so.
This is great radio. Naming dudes.
Chris
boys.
Osgood
Yes.
was credited with one
Yes.
that I don't remember.
Do you want the list? I can pull
Yeah.
it up here.
Okay, pull it up
Okay,
now.
okay.
Who are we missing?
All right. Here we go here. Okay.
I suck.
This is according to Wikipedia. So the ones that were shot on goal. So these are, Billy Smith has one, but it was an own goal. So shots on goal were Hextall twice, Osgood, Martin Brodeur.
Oh,
I mean, that was
How do
on
we
the,
not
yeah.
remember
that one's
Martin
on. That one's
Brodeur?
literally on the lineup. So
yeah.
I mean,
I-
yeah, that one's
I
on
don't
there.
We don't read your lineup, by the way.
Thanks, buddy. I only spent all this time making it look great for you, KB. Jose Theodore.
Oh, he is on it.
Yep. Evgeny Nabokov,
Never really
No,
got
no,
it.
remember him.
power play goal. Mike Smith,
Should have had that.
Pekka Rinne,
Yeah, should have had that too.
Linus Ullmark,
Mhm.
Tristan Jarry.
Nope.
Last year,
Never would have got it.
and Philip Gustafsson. So there's the list.
It's still.
It
I think
feels like it's
exci-
increasing in
it-
frequency as
yeah,
goalies
it
can
just-
shoot it better.
It
It's
looks
awesome.
exciting for the goalie still. I mean, and the teammates.
Yeah.
But it's not that big of a deal
You know,
anymore, is it?
well, I will say, like, it's not an irrelevant factor. I don't know what the score was in that game. Was it 2-1, 3-1? Putting the game away matters.
Mhm.
You know, you shoot it. If you're trying to set up the goalie, you take a slap shot and get it to him as quick as possible in the chest and let him set it down.
That's exactly what happened.
That was
with
on an
Gustafsson.
absolute tee. Marc-Andre Fleury is getting credit for telling him to shoot for it.
The only thing I
Got a
remember
chance
is
up
going
two.
to
They were up 2.
going into Philadelphia's training camp, pretty much the same time Ron Hextall was transitioning into being the number one goalie for the Philadelphia Flyers, and then watching him stick handle and shoot the puck
Yeah.
with a glove,
Shovel.
a blocker, and a large piece of lumber.
19
And it was
pound piece of
it was
redwood tree.
like it was unheard of at this point.
Yeah.
And we're talking about 1984.
Mm.
Like it was like watching like a man go to the moon
Yeah.
for the first time. Like it's just like, this is not goalies. What are you doing? And
Totally.
and he just changed the game forever.
He really revolutionized the position, and not everything stuck, like the being violent. But he was a different cat who
He
played it
was.
his own way.
But just the ability to be a third stick handler back there, to break out a zone. Forget about shooting the puck in the net 200 feet.
yeah, then guys like Turco and Brodeur
just
came around.
making a first pass and being like a third defender.
Mhm.
And how many defensemen did he save from going face into the glass?
yeah.
How many careers did he extend?
Yeah. It's really nice. I had a college teammate. He had a cup of coffee, the Islanders, Nathan Lawson. And he used to, as soon as he would catch it, I would take off. Because the other team just kind of sleeps and assumes you won't, but he could fire at the length of the ice, and I ended up with a few breakaways in college. When you play with those guys, it is like cheating, and hence the trapezoid came
So-
in. And
Can I ask why the trapezoid?
well, yeah, you can, and it's actually a fair question if it's still necessary. It was that they felt like it was killing offense because goalies were stopping pucks,
Yeah.
breaking the puck out. But then you just adapt and you stop chipping it in behind the net. Don't let the goalie play it. So
I thought, when goalies started getting out there was
It's
always the most
great drama.
exciting thing.
Yeah,
like when they
let 'em
start,
play.
when they're like, oh, he's going to wander and go out into the corner area.
Yeah.
There's some memories of goalies going out there and just bad stuff happening.
There's never been a rule in the history of the game that I know of that has actually helped goalies, other than maybe
Well,
you know,
goalie interference, if you breathe on one, then you don't have to.
outside of that.
That's pretty good.
But like everything's been skewed to more offense.
Yeah.
Every rule is based on for the
And
shooter
that's to their
and not
credit,
the goalie.
because they have there's no bigger change in the sport than what goalies used to look like to what goalies are now. And the shooters have caught up a little bit, but what was the era? Was it the late 90s, early 2000s, where you just could not? The goalies got so much better, and the shooters were still shooting it on the ice. Like your generation that all hates people who shoot everything high now. I shoot everything high.
I think that, I guess I don't really remember, the discourse when that rule was brought in. I wasn't really locked into the discourse when the trapezoid was brought in. But to me, having a goalie go out there and make a decision is exciting.
Very fun.
And having a guy with all the pads on and people bearing down on him and just like them making a breakout pass or turning it over. And you think it just, who was it that went flying over Hasek? That wasn't in the trapezoid, but like goalies out of the net is a thrill.
It is.
And they've just really, that doesn't happen anymore. So I don't know.
Bring it back.
Get rid of the
Start
trapezoid.
campaign. I like it.
I'd be remiss if we did not mention last night in Columbus.
Oh, man.
What I thought was an incredible tribute to Johnny Gaudreau and the Gaudreau family by playing 13 seconds without the left winger. Mm-hmm. We were watching at home, just finished dinner, and like my wife watches, but she doesn't really watch.
Yeah.
She was in tears.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, Columbus hit the right note.
Yeah.
That was absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Hard game to play, I imagine, for those players.
Hard game to play in, and they gave it their all. And, watching this game, and Columbus scored a late goal to come within one. And there was a big part of me that said,
this is going to happen.
Columbus is going to tie this game with 13 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah.
I never wanted a team to score with 13 seconds on the clock more than Columbus last night. It didn't happen, but man,
Monahan pointing up after his goal. Monahan's scoring was
so tastefully done last night, and something that this was really hard to, I'm sure, go through
it's just sickening. I don't know how his wife and his kids and his parents
it's just
even
it's unimaginable.
It really
that picture, the picture, I don't know who took it, but that'll be like one of the better hockey photos you'll ever see.
Which one?
With Monahan, with all the guys surrounding him, with the 13 patch on his jersey and him like pointing up. It's just like that's, it's hard to imagine what everyone's going through there, but I thought they did a wonderful job last night.
Yeah.
Really, really glad you brought that up, Kempe.
Yeah, well said.
Outside of that, a little channel surfing last night. I know you were in studio, but I also caught enough of the Tampa Bay Vancouver game to suggest that demise of the Tampa Bay Lightning has been maybe a little premature.
First off, great hockey game. That was just a really, really great pace, the whole thing. But Tampa is looking good.
The goalie looked pretty good too.
Vasilevsky was unbelievable. Vancouver must have had 20 chances.
They couldn't get a sniff close to the scoreboard because of him.
Kucherov, Point, Gensel is a ridiculous hockey line. Like maybe league-wide the best.
That's just going to work out for them. Right?
Hagel, Cirelli, Paul.
No, just the move of them to, the Stamkos thing is one that I've been,
Listen, it's a gutsy call by the organization.
But they're one of those organizations that makes, it's like a almost Patriot-like, where they make these cutthroat decisions and they don't let emotions get in the way. They don't
fans trust that, hey, this hurts, but we trust you know what you're doing here.
And Gensel's really good.
Yeah.
Really good hockey player. And when he's really good too is the playoffs. Yeah. And that he's just going to fit right in there. Playoff performer. They're a problem.
Yeah.
They need help on defense, but they can get it at the trade deadline. They can fill in.
McDonough back there, it's like Back to the Future a little bit.
McDonough, Chernak's really good. Obviously, Hedman's a guy, and that
he gets hurt a lot too, though.
He does.
He's beat up. There's some mileage on that guy.
Yeah. JJ Moser, though, they got him in the Sergachev deal. I think he's pretty good D. They're pretty good.
Got another quiz for you. I know you love these. Capitals Ovechkin, 60th player to 700 assists.
Yep.
There are 6 players in the history of the NHL with 700 goals and 700 assists. Can you name them?
I mean, how many players have over 700 goals?
So
That's
Phil
where you gotta
Esposito.
start.
Yep.
Gretzky.
Yep.
Gordie Howe.
Yep.
Mario.
Nope.
No Mario.
Nope.
No Brett Hall.
Nope. You're just missing one because you guys got
Messier.
No, you don't. You're missing 2. So you have
Messier.
Yager. You said Gretzky.
700.
Yager. Yeah, Yager.
Mike Gardner.
Nope. So you guys got Gretzky, Gordie Howe, Yager, and Esposito. There's one more you're missing.
Current player or no?
No, think purple jerseys.
Oh, Marcel.
Yeah, Marcel Dion. There you go.
I'm surprised. Marcel Dion.
Do you think
700 goals.
the Ovi thing is under talked about?
The goal chase?
Yeah. I feel like it's quieter than you think. Like,
I think once he gets a couple, it'll be like,
Yeah.
it's,
You can't underestimate too, like the political aspect of it too. That
does the league want to sell
well,
a Russian
I don't.
star
It's
right
just
now?
it's sensitive. That's all. It's just sensitive.
Yeah. I do think that it hurts that he's not just a Russian player. He is such a staunch advocate. He's a pro-Putin guy with Putin in his Instagram picture.
Yeah.
He's not, like, is it Panarin and Zadorov who are not on that side of things?
And yeah, maybe. And to your point, like it's hard to separate the two because on the surface, the greatest goal scorer, natural goal scorer, in my opinion, in the history of the game, and like Gretzky was not a natural goal scorer. I think he'd be the first one to admit that.
Yeah.
But
By pretty much any metric per game, like Ovi's.
Like it's incredible.
Like if this was, for example, I don't know, Sidney Crosby or an American hockey player even, we'd be talking about this every single day.
Yeah.
Every goal.
He's still 40
Yeah.
away.
Yeah,
41 away.
which he could literally score this season.
Yeah.
No problem.
Has he
think
got
he
one
needs-
yet? No, he hasn't got one yet.
No.
Last night I found it interesting that
Right
he, besides the flip, I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, under 18 or 17 minutes last night. So, like, this is a guy that has probably been used to 20 for sure, but he's turning. Is he 39?
Getting up there.
He is gotta be the thickest man this way. Like not this way, but like belly to spine.
He's just a
He's
big
just a
person.
Large
Yeah.
tree trunk of
Mule.
a human. And then my point with that is that as you get older and slow down a little, harder to play 21 minutes
Yes.
ripping around.
Oh no, for sure. They're really sensitive on how many minutes that they can give him. And last night, I think he was out there sniffing on an empty netter.
Of course, every empty net he'll be
one
out
of the
there.
few empty nets I think he's missed
Didn't
in
he
his
have
career.
50 in his career or
Yeah, he's got a
something?
lot.
Oh yeah, he's got a lot.
Allmark could be ready to start on Thursday. Could be.
Who they playing?
The Devils.
Oh, I don't think he's ready. I'll bet
Oh no, we're
I'll
not doing
bet
this
it
all
right
year.
now that he's not ready for Thursday, but he's ready for who they got Saturday.
I don't know, but I just have the Devils in front of me here.
We need Valley.
They got Tampa Saturday.
Oh,
He may have to wait till Tuesday.
Oh, he's really tight.
They got a tough schedule, boy.
What is it?
They got New Jersey, Tampa Bay, Utah, the Golden Knights, Colorado.
Holy.
Yeah. And
Tough start to the
Colorado,
year.
we'll see if they lock it up or not. But
Yep.
All right, 4 games on tap tonight. You mentioned you're taking Buffalo tonight over Pittsburgh.
I am. Sabres going to get one on the board tonight.
Boston and Colorado.
Don't know.
I think the
Colorado
Avs
still struggles.
They got to figure one out. Underlying numbers so far, I actually kind of like Colorado. Check out my article on sportsnet.ca.
What do you got going?
I talked about the teams who haven't won yet and if they're actually good or bad teams. The answer to that is mostly good, but Nashville stinks.
I'm starting to write again.
Oh, how's that feel?
Really?
Yeah, like I forgot how to ride a bike.
Yeah. Not like biking.
No, it's not.
What'd you write about?
Amulets?
Oh. You had to get one more in.
Well, it's Toronto Stars, so I went why Mitch Marner shouldn't sign.
Oh my God. And hey, since we're doing shameless promotion, watch Leafs Talk after every game. Leafs Talk with me and JD Bunkus tonight after the Leafs game.
You can't do that on the
Glorious
National Hour.
amulet.
I just did it. Glorious amulets.
Luckily, I wear this magical
Our thanks
amulet.
to Luc Robitaille and Ray Ferraro. What are their combined points in the National
lot.
Hockey League?
A lot.
A ton. Enjoy 4 games on tap, and we're back right here on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. If you get a chance, give us a rating and review. We'd love to hear from you. Tell Sammy to stop with his Leaf love on the National Hour. Send us that rating and review. Have a great night, everybody.